Hello, this is David Koslowski for Finance 3403 Financial Management. This video is for Excel number 3, stock valuation. Let me share a screen to get going. So here, what you should see is the template for this assignment here. And at the top, where I'm circling my cursor here, we have a 4-year timeline here valuing this stock using these parameter values up here. But what we want to do is change the scenario here. This might be our first attempt. We come up with a valuation of 6278, but then we rethink this, and as an alternate scenario, we want to value these parameter values here. And whereas this has 0 to 4, like it grows for 3 years, non-constant, it's changing, multi-stage, and then starting in year 4 here, it grows forever at 4%. We have the, in the new scenario, we have the so-called terminal growth rate starting in year 6. For the first 5 years, 1 to 5, it has non-constant growth. And finally, starting in year 6, it has constant growth. So we need a minimum of 6 years. So we have to change this example. So to begin with, the simplest way is just to reuse most of what's up here. So we copy it, we go down, we paste it, and well, actually we could, can we keep the color green? One moment here. Yeah, we can keep the color green here if we want to. Checking something here. Well, this keeps the 2 digits here. So that, let's keep it with white. But either one works. So the idea here, though, we have to insert 2 years here, and we want to insert it before the terminal value here. So I'm going to insert it right here. I'm going to highlight to insert the 2 years, and I'm going to say insert, and so shift cells to the right, and that's what I want. So good. So then let's highlight those first years here, and then drag them to form 6 years now. Well, of course, we have to be careful. We want to start dragging with this one. It says equals this. So let's drag from the second one here to keep the formula intact. What happens is once we change the first one, suppose we changed it to 0.08. We're not going to do that actually in this particular example, but it just shows you a technique of maintaining or changing the values quickly. So here, I'm going to, we're keeping the 9%, so that can stay as is. But the growth rates here change. The first 2 years is 20%, so it's 0.20, and then it changes, it stays probably at 20% for your second year also. And then it drops for 2 years to 0.1, another 10%, and then again 10% for year 4. And then it tells us that we go down to 0.05 for year 5. And then our terminal growth rate in this example is 0.03. Now, we then have to go down to the next one here and extend our formula to calculate all of the growth. It applies growth starting with D0. Now remember, we just missed D0. So down here, we don't sum D0. We just missed it. That's the model used here. But what we do is we go all the way here and sum upwards to capture all of the cash flows here. Then we have to go down here to extend again all the way. And that's it. Then we have, so under this scenario, we go from 62.78 per share down to a value of 52.74 if this is the scenario that we choose. So we're done here. And what it illustrates is a simple way to use Excel for data analytics to value a stock. So let's move on to the second problem, where we're going to fit the model, or simple model, to Apple. Now, back on May 5th, when I set this up, the share price for Apple was 173. Now, it's a little higher than that right now, but it'll work. We can just leave it as is. So similar to up here, we need the D0 to make this model work. So here, I went to Yahoo Finance and I actually totaled two things, the cash dividend and the per share buyback. And it totals 614, and that's what I'm using here. I'm actually just showing you that I use 614. Now, I discussed this in class briefly. It's beyond the scope of this course, but a share buyback is equivalent to a cash dividend because they both are paid out of the net income at the bottom of the income statement. Again, we would actually look at, if you take intermediate finance, you may well, in that section, look at how this actually works, why it works in more detail. But here, just accept it as given. The point is, if we just use the cash dividend, we'd come up with a ridiculous answer, way too low. We have to actually recognize that a share buyback on a per share basis is equivalent to a cash dividend. So let me, I'm going to go, after we solve this, I'm going to go back to Yahoo and show you where this came from. But for now, let's just take it as given, 614. So that's our D0. Now, what we want to do is work backwards and figure out some scenarios of what Mr. Market is thinking. So this is D0, but the green here is what Mr. Market has applied. This is Mr. Market in the green here. The company, you as the company manager cannot control what Mr. Market does. He's taking the 614 and applying these growth rates and this constant discount factor to value the stock. This is the so-called intrinsic value model here. So what we want to do is change these numbers in the green until this matches the actual market price. So we want our intrinsic value model to match market price. And that gives us some insight as to how Mr. Market is viewing what's going on at Apple. So this is too high. So let me, I can do one of two things to change this number. I can change the discount rate, make it higher. So let's make it 0.09. And that changed all of them because I've got them linked equals. But I'm still too high. So let's try something like, and you can do different scenarios. Like one might be to say, change this to 0.09 and drag that, getting closer. Or we might say 0.10 here, 0.09, 0.08. And we're getting quite close here. And this might be too much. You go way down, no, you don't want to do that. That shows that, actually what that shows us here is that Mr. Market is actually assigning quite a high terminal growth rate for Apple for quite a long time. But, or we could say to get a little closer, let's do, but you get the sense. You can play with this until you come reasonably close. So come within a few dollars and you're fine. So we're done there. Now, that shows us that one scenario of what Mr. Market might be thinking. So he might be using a discount rate of around 9%, and then a declining growth rate of 10, 9, 8, and then finally terminal growth rate of 5%, representing his view of the future for Apple. You may disagree with it, but it gives us a sense of what Mr. Market is thinking. So where did this 518? I want to show you that before we leave off here. I'm not going to do problem 3. That's a matter of opinion coming out of the PowerPoint and your reading of the textbook and so forth. And it's your opinion on these questions here. But let me now stop share here. And I want to go and share let me just go back. Okay, good. I think I've got it. All right, yes, here I'm at Apple. So here, I had two numbers there. I used the cash dividend right here, given right on the summary page for Apple, 96 cents. But if we just use that for dividends, we get a ridiculously low number. So where did I get the 518 per share? Well, what I did was I went to financials. I went to the cash flow, and here it says repurchase. This is the same thing as share buybacks. So what you see here is that Apple has been progressively increasing its share buybacks every year, up to in recent times around 89 billion. There are 3 extra zeros here. This is in thousands. So using this number here, that's around 89 billion total. So to get the number of shares, I then switch to the balance sheet. And what I find is that outstanding shares here is around 16 billion. But you notice that they're going down. As the company's been buying back shares, it's gone from 17.7 billion, 16.9, and then 16.4. And more recent quarter, it's actually 15.9. So clearly, Apple is continuously buying back shares, decreasing the number of shares, which increases the earnings per share. But it has its equivalent, but in our model, it's equivalent to us just increasing the dividend by the buyback amount. So I had 89 billion buyback. I divide by the 16.4 here, and I come up with around $5, or more specifically $5.18. So that's where I got the 518, dividing the total share buyback amount by the number of shares outstanding. So let me, it's as simple as that. So let me go back here to the summary here. And this is actually what Mr. Market is doing on a continuous basis. He's applying this dividend growth model and working out his estimates of growth and the discount rate, where the discount rate reflects risk. And he comes up with an intrinsic value number. And now he's not, it moves up and down around, but the intrinsic value is a smooth line going through the ups, peaks and valleys here. Because it takes Mr. Market a while to figure it out. Because it's a very noisy environment, lots of information coming in all the time. But right now, his estimate, I gave 173. It's recently bumped up to 183. But we don't have to change that in our model. So that's where the 518 came from back on so I'm going to stop share and go back to our so what you should be seeing now is our template here. So to end off, I'm not going to do these two, A and B. These are for you to fill in. And this is actually to some degree your opinion here. And any reasonable answer is satisfactory. There's no absolute answer to these questions here. So please look at the PowerPoint, and if necessary, look at the ebook and just briefly fill in A and B. So I'm going to stop share at this point and end the video. Thank you for your attention.